The curtain falls on the regular season this afternoon at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome as the New Orleans Saints welcome in the 6-9 Carolina Panthers. Hi again, everybody. Welcome to pregame coverage on NewOrleansSaints.com, Facebook Live, and, of course, your Saints mobile app with Mke Hoss and John DeShazier. We welcome you all in for this last home game of the season.
We welcome you in. You've been
I know,
you've
I've
been
been
a
away.
Man. It's like this is the Superdome, so welcome back.
It is nice to be back here. It sure is. And this is a place where the Saints have almost put together a perfect record at home. Other than the blemish at the start of the season, John, they've won every other home game. They'll look for their their 7th today to go 7-1 at home.
Yeah, and won most of them in dominating fashion. The only one they really didn't, that really was not lopsided, Cleveland 21-18, and then last week, which was a nail biter down to the end. But everybody else, they've pretty much run out of the gym. So hopefully they'll be able to get that kind of result here today.
Yeah, they've averaged 37 points per game at home. It's been phenomenal. And, Mike, one of the big headlines today is this chance to win a 14th regular season game, something that's never been done in this franchise's history.
Never been done, and, they've been 13 wins, certainly in the 09 season, and another time. This is the third time they've had 13 wins, and so 14 would be historic, and so you're going to see some new faces. I mean, obviously, for what this game is, but for those guys in this game, for a lot of them, Teddy Bridgewater, will be a very, very important game. So, 14 wins is something you could hang your hat on and to making this game, significant.
So Teddy Bridgewater here today, Mike, and if you look at this situation, you couldn't have asked for a better backup quarterback for Drew Brees and the Saints. They went kind of all in this situation to make sure that they had the right guy or a capable guy in case, God forbid, something had happened to Drew Brees during the regular season. So he's done his job. Today, I think he's granted this opportunity to showcase himself a little bit, and I think that's an intriguing thing to watch for all of us.
I agree. I mean, he's thrown 3 passes in the last 2 years. We had certainly the Pro Bowl season in 2015. So, for a Nick Foles and for a Teddy Bridgewater, they're out there thinking, okay, he wants to be a starter. And so, but you wonder if this year has shown him, he knows Drew's, who knows, Am I better off in this system as a starter in 2 years with Sean Payton, or am I better off, struggling with another team who maybe just had a lot of money? So I agree, it'll be interesting to see how he performs. It's a real good test for that knee. So is he, I don't want to put a whole lot on it because it's really the big body of work and physically how he looks. But for him, it's a huge game. This is exactly why they brought him in.
Yeah, and John, he's not alone either. I mean, there are guys today, like we talked to Dwayne Washington in the locker room this week. He played a ton in the final preseason game of the year. Now, his chance perhaps to get a significant number of carries and snaps today.
Yeah, he will be the workhorse at running back. You don't expect to see Mark Ingram or Alvin Kamara, but this is a nice opportunity and really a nice parting gesture, not parting gesture, but a nice gesture for Dwayne Washington because he does a lot of dirty work on special teams. He's a guy who's really selfless, and now to get an opportunity to go out and showcase himself. And for him, this will be him running behind the guys that he's accustomed to having block for him in practice. He'll be taking handoffs from a quarterback he's accustomed to taking handoffs from. He knows where he's going to be, and better than that, Teddy Bridgewater knows where he will be in terms of bailout situations. So probably a good showing for him in terms of getting some snaps and getting a chance to showcase himself.
What about the offensive line, John? What are we going to see today? And this is a mix of not only making sure guys stay in the safe zone here, but there are some bumps and bruises that need to be taken care of. So what do you make of those guys in front of Bridgewater and Washington here this afternoon?
Well, because you're limited to 46 players and because 3 guys have already been declared out, Armstead, Bushrod, and Warford.
Yep.
So now, Ramchek's probably going to play, but you hope to keep his snaps down. Unger might not play because you've got Cameron Tom. Will Clapp's probably going to step in some. Andrews Pete might play a little left tackle, which he's accustomed to play in, but how long do you want to leave him out there? But again, there's only so many bodies that you have available to play. So who among the starters is probably going to be out there a lot because that's what you're looking for. You might have some snaps, obviously. Again, I mentioned Will Clapp and Cameron Tom, but you want to be able to get those guys off the field as soon as possible.
No doubt. There's been a lot of talk here leading up to this football game about the different milestones that could be or could have been achieved here in this final regular season game. Obviously, Drew Brees, it looks like it's going to be left 8 yards shy of 4,000 yards. Alvin Kamara will probably remain tied with Dalton Hilliard for the regular season touchdowns. Michael Thomas remains to be seen whether or not he'll achieve the milestones that he was looking for in this final week. One thing we can track, though, Mke Hoss, is the fact that the Saints defense here this season has not allowed a 100-yard rusher. They can complete that task here, I think, today. No matter who's out there collectively, that Saints defense still can punctuate, which has been an unbelievable year.
Yeah, before they were, for the most part, keeping teams under 100, more or less a 100-yard running back. Boy, when you look at this defense and what they've accomplished after the first 2 games, the Tampa and Cleveland game, and really in the last 7 games, stopping the run, forcing teams to the air. Now, some people will say teams went to the air because they knew they could throw against this defensive secondary at times where they've struggled, but they've come together. I think the biggest point of this defense really in the last 7 games is 2.3 turnovers a game. 2.3 turnovers a game, 16 turnovers in the last 7 games. The 2 last week against Pittsburgh could not have been more clutch in the fourth quarter. You start averaging 2 turnovers every game over a period of time, and you keep running, you shut down a running game. What a recipe for success.
No doubt. Certainly we have to talk about Carolina a little bit, John. They're 6-9. Obviously Cam Newton shut down before last weekend. Won't see him today either. Other than Luke Kuechly, we think he'll play, right?
Yeah.
What will we see from Carolina today?
We'll see Kyle Allen at quarterback, an undrafted rookie who really gets tossed into the fire because Taylor Hinkie got injured last week. So now they're down to their 3rd quarterback in as many weeks. And if you're the Saints, look, you're not necessarily saying we got this guy, but you got to feel pretty good. That's the guy you want to put the ball in his hands. You heard Mike mention the run game and how the Saints have done run defense-wise, where if there was ever a day to sell out against the run, today would be that day because you want to put it in the hands of that undrafted rookie quarterback.
That's true. I didn't think about that. That's a good angle there. Guys, as far as the other teams around the NFC, I guess there are a couple of games we better keep an eye on today. Obviously, the Saints have the number 1 seed and are idle in the wild card round. But if you're just trying to see how the field shakes out, Bears-Vikings, do we start the conversation there, Mike?
Yeah, Chicago has been a much different team than I really expected, and certainly the second half of the season, the victory, over the Rams. So Minnesota has been so up and down, I think whoever the Saints will play in that divisional round is going to be a good team. It's going to be a team coming off of a win. And so, I just feel like the hardest part for the Saints at this juncture is themselves. And as we all know, in basketball and baseball and all the sports, you can play the game and not get injured. You can't do that in football. You can't play to not get injured because that is exactly when you get injured. So I think they come out of this. I've looked at the possible 6 and 5 and 4, and I just feel like it's going to be a good team coming off of a win.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think there's some dangerous teams out there. Seattle is certainly going to be dangerous, John. And the other team that I think that nobody really wants to play right now, perhaps, is Philadelphia, who has a big game today against Washington. I think Philly needs the Vikings to lose and that the Eagles would have to beat Washington. But if you look at them the last couple of weeks, I'm not so sure it'll be the same Eagles team that we saw here in this building back, almost 2 months ago.
No, it's hard to believe, but Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate last year when he got injured. Nick Foles led them to the Super Bowl. Nick Foles has really been, dare I say, better for that team than Carson Wentz has when he's been out there because Carson Wentz came back. He was injured this year. He played okay. Nick Foles has taken that offense to a different level these last couple of weeks, and he is a guy who has a hot hand. Remember his first starting year, I think he had 24 touchdowns and 4 interceptions during that regular season, and the Saints beat him in the wild card game in Philly. Yeah. But he is a different quarterback than that young guy then. He looks a lot more poised, a lot more comfortable. And Nick Foles is poised to make a a lot of money this offseason as a free agent.
Well, yes, indeed. And Teddy Bridgewater.
Both guys have people thinking, or if you're Philly, do you go, hold on a sec? I think for both teams, they're playing for the future, but their teams they're with go, well, maybe you're our future. Yes. Don't know.
All right, we'll know the field by the end of today. That's the good news.
Yes.
We're wrapping up the regular season. The best news of all is that the Saints have locked up this number 1 seed and will be in this building for the weeks to come. Everybody, let's knock on wood real quick. We're all out of here injury-free to end the regular season. And it sure would be nice to call it a 14-win season.
Yeah, 5 straight wins over the Panthers. I mean, this team, they had to play them 3 times last year, beat them in the playoffs. And I think, there's no ugly wins in the NFL. That 12-9 victory on Monday night when they had really not locked up a whole lot of stuff was a huge win because Carolina at that point, Cam was still playing. They still had hopes of, finishing out the season strong. That win and then go on Carolina, win on the road just like they did last year. And that, when they lost their first 2 games in 17, go on the road and beat Carolina. That was really the starting point of the season that turned things around. And then they went to London and won again. But I mean, to beat a team in your division 5 straight, 1 being in the playoffs, that'd be pretty significant.
Yeah, I agree. Mke Hoss will be emceeing the festivities all throughout the game here at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. John, you and I will be on NewOrleansSaints.com throughout, and then you'll be in the locker room post, right? And we'll be right back here, JD and myself, for the Verizon postgame show here after this final regular season game. Enjoy, gentlemen.
Enjoy.
Yes, sir. Great to be back. Great to have you with us as well. Enjoy this final black and gold Sunday of the regular season. Enjoy the day, everybody.